Well, this, sure is a bit different, isn't it? Yeah, it's just me today. Trying something a little bit different. Many times we don't really upload because Ernest and I have trouble either committing to reviewing a film for a section, or we just have issues committing to a time to do the film. We aren't the press, and we have jobs that cut into the weekends, which is the prime time to see films if you want to review them in a timely manner. Usually, if we're going to do a new film, we try to review within a week of the film's release. Of course, this year has been its exception, where we reviewed multiple films either a week or, in the case of the roundup, we did back in July, months after the film's release date. So to try to do something different, I'm just going to talk to you guys today about some of the films I saw in July and August. So without further ado, let's begin. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 excels at the things that Fallout excelled at. Fantastic score, action, performances, and high-class tension that only a horror film can match. Dead Reckoning continues the now 4-film dive into Ethan's protection of his team. While he does put them in danger, he genuinely means it when he says that he values them more than he does himself. The way this film delves further into that is both great and terrible. Without getting into spoilers, the film decides to essentially fridge a character to prove both a point and replace them with a new character. It was really frustrating on a second watch. Which, yeah, I saw this twice. Partly because I really wanted to, and mostly because of a projection issue that happened when I saw the film for the first time that was really annoying, to say the least. The second watch, the issues I had with the film's antagonist became a much bigger issue. While the film is part 1 of 2, the film's antagonistic AI, named the Entity, was really inconsistent. The film goes through an effort to let us know that the Entity knows each person that the film revolves around, enough to predict their very actions, or at least a large amount of probable actions. Therefore, it predicts it can lose. So why does it rely so much on chance? Without delving too much into spoilers, the film's finale presents a choice made by the Entity that confused the hell out of me as to how it understood loyalty. This comes into the character of Gabriel, who on his own right is a very threatening villain, but his motives are so unexplained that I can only sit here and wonder as to why he sides with the AI. But hey, there's a part 2 coming, so I hope my questions will be answered soon. But most of its new additions are welcome. Pom Clementieff's Paris and Haley Atwell's Grace were charming new additions, with the latter being a great foil to have to Ethan. But yeah, despite its very glaring issues, I thought Dead Reckoning Part 1 is excellent. It continues to amaze and provide great entertainment and action when that seems to be delegated to streaming these days. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is an absolute delight. Its incredible animation, along with great characterization for the Turtles, Splinter, and the other mutants, and a great cast, makes this film so enjoyable. Kids who voice the Turtles especially deserve a shout out because they provide the lifeblood of the film and help carry it further. Their chemistry with each other is lively, it's genuine, heartfelt, and charming. The only issues I can give the film are with its rather simplistic messaging that just happens immediately with the help of April, who does a ridiculous amount for a teenager, but in fairness, the film never tries to ground itself in much reality. The heart and sentiment is there, the execution of the admittedly important messaging the film has just felt a little lackluster to me. So, if you don't really care for references and pop culture humor, then this one will be rough for you as well, as a lot of the Turtles' humor and dialogue is steeped in that. But I was able to buy into that because of the emphasis of the teenage part of the TMNT. I also think that the film may suffer from moving a little bit too quickly. It is a brisk film, being around 90 minutes or so. Not much in the film is left to breathe as it just keeps moving. Honestly, I didn't mind it at all. The film's pace was rather refreshing. Once it ended, I honestly wanted more. And with that mid-credit stinger, I very much want to see more. All Mutant Mayhem is an absolute blast, featuring one of the best, if not the best, interpretations of the Turtles, a good amount of heart and sincerity, and a wonderful animation style that never fears to be weird, ugly, or gross. The film itself, 8.5 out of 10 for me. I really, really enjoyed it. Wait, didn't I already review this? Well, yes, I did, but I watched it again 3 more times. We'll get to that in a bit. I watched it again, and this time as well as the other 2 times I watched it, I found a lot more about the film I disliked this time around, particularly with its exploration of fate, the multiverse, and its misuse of its main character. The fact that Barry Allen doesn't seem to care about how his mother died really screws up that character. Yes, of course he cares about his father and wants to prove his innocence, but based on my understanding of Barry Allen through the minimal, granted, experience of that character I've had, he obtains a career in criminal justice because he wants to figure out who killed his mother, while also fixing the justice system that incarcerated his innocent father. They got the latter down, but not the former, and in my opinion, messes up that character. The film, like I said in the roundup, is dirt ugly, the CGI is awful, and watching it on smaller screens didn't make that any better. The whole final act is just awful. The things I did like about the film did stay the same, however, with the film's second act being really enjoyable, at least for me. Michael Keaton's Batman was just a lot of fun to have back. The film's messaging of letting go is pretty muddled, but I thought it was executed well enough in the film's final moments, to then be completely disregarded by Barry changing something else again. Well, I do enjoy the film and would go far enough to say that I even like it, even now after seeing it 4 times. I would also acknowledge that the film is really bad. I don't think it's like absolute dog shit, but it's a rough watch. It's a 4 out of 10 for me, and I don't know if it can go any higher. I thought Beetle and Tyrone was a pretty clever little mystery that had me entertained and invested for its entire runtime. Its characters were fun, and the filmmaking was solid, being very reminiscent of 1970s blaxploitation films. It certainly had many themes and social commentary that can be picked up on and find much deeper meaning. It's subtle at first, but then sometimes hits you over the head with it. And then it goes back to being more subtle, and then back to smacking you in the face. But none of it was face value. It has depth, and I'm sure much more themes of exploration, marginalization, and even segregation in almost a literal way can be found in it. I had to watch this one twice to see if what I was feeling stayed, and it certainly did. I will say, while I found the film to be pretty funny and charming on the first watch, the second time around, it kind of lost its humor for me, just a bit. Again, that is just me. I'd give the film an 8 out of 10, pretty solid. I was really excited for Barbie, as I'm a fan of both Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach's work. I think they're both incredibly talented writers and directors, and are easily some of the more interesting people working in film today. And Gerwig clearly had a vision for Barbie that she committed to wholeheartedly. While I'm not in the same wavelength as many others who adored this film, I was certainly entertained by it and had a good time, but it is, in my opinion, Greta Gerwig's worst film. My issues come from the film's messaging. Not necessarily the messaging itself, but more so that, at least from my understanding of it, the film is mostly that and not much character. While I enjoyed Barbie and Ken arcs in the film and how it explored that, I felt the film's human characters lacked much personality and depth outside of their association with the Barbie doll. They kind of are just the embodiments of many women's feelings about Barbie. Despite my issues with it, the film shines brightly in so many places. I thought the acting was incredible from everybody involved, and Ryan Gosling was absolutely the standout as Ken. If he isn't nominated for Best Supporting Actor at next year's Oscars, the universe is truly doomed. The soundtrack was peppy, and I admire how much Greta Gerwig believed in her vision, even if, in my opinion, it doesn't all work. I did think the film was pretty consistently funny as well, and I thought the pace was brisk. And overall, I enjoyed Barbie, but unfortunately, I didn't love it like many others. For me, this is a 7 out of 10. I do want to watch it again, however, when it hits digital. Oppenheimer was absolutely phenomenal. It's a greatly investing and interesting thriller where not a single punch is thrown. While I have certainly been apprehensive to many recent Nolan films like The Dark Knight Rises and Tenet, it does feel like Nolan was almost using those films, along with Interstellar and Dunkirk, as tools that he was sharpening to use as effectively as possible with Oppenheimer. I can't really say too much negative about the film. I think it's pretty goddamn excellent, featuring an incredible score by Ludwig Göransson, amazing visuals and sound design, some truly great sequences of tension, dread, and a great exploration of the guilt this man felt for what he helped to create. I do want to do a proper section on this film at some point, so for now I'll leave it at that. I right now give the film a 9 out of 10, mostly due to the film's sluggish pace, and while I can't quite, figure out what I take out of the film, it is probably too long, with its very daunting 3-hour runtime. Man, it's just really good to be excited for a Christopher Nolan film again. Alright, I know this one isn't a film, but I did want to briefly mention what I thought of Secret Invasion. I thought it started out kind of strong and interesting. It's immediately darker than most MCU projects, but as it continued, the show just became pitiful. It's absolutely a new low for the MCU, and I thought it couldn't really get any lower TV-wise. To mention that TV just isn't working for them. They need to either consolidate these projects into strict and sleek 2-hour films, or just don't do these at all, because Marvel just doesn't understand how to do this. 6 episodes isn't enough for these narratives to flourish and make the most of it. Instead, you just end up dicking around for 3 episodes while the first and final episodes are the most streamlined. Either make a 2 to 3 hour film or allow more episodes for the shows to actually develop properly. I've given WandaVision a lot of shit in my own personal time, but it at least had a good amount of episodes to develop itself, even if it didn't fully work out. Secret Invasion is less of a failure as a show as it is an example of Marvel's shortcomings. I don't even want to talk about the show anymore. 4 out of 10. It really struggled to keep my interest. Blue Beetle is perfectly okay for a decent portion of its runtime. It's inoffensive, occasionally funny, and has some pretty okay moments. It's entertaining. Xolo Maridueña clearly has chops, and I can see him becoming a very big name in the future, but as Jaime Reyes, he's serviceable. It's not his fault, though. The film's script does him no favors. And in fact, the script does nobody any real favors here because it's so indicative of every other comic book origin film to date that the only thing it has to make it stand out is the family aspect, which works pretty well. When it comes to that family, George Lopez's Uncle Rudy hard carries the film. But it's not all lame. Some of it is actually terrible. The film's final act is rinse and repeat, featuring cliched and boring villains who literally say, "You should have killed me when you had the chance," and "You thought you could beat me?" Even the action scenes could have been better. They're shot decently well, but the lighting and editing really hurts it. As I mentioned before, the villains' performances from them were just so bad. They barely even tried. The film had potential, and it has some good parts to it, but as a whole, this just wasn't worth neither the hype nor the theatrical release. This was supposed to go to Max, and watching it makes it perfectly obvious that it probably should have went there. I enjoyed myself, and I wouldn't even mind seeing it again or seeing Jaime Reyes return in the DCU, but this was just so lame and repetitive that I can't say that it was a particularly good movie. It's a 5.5 out of 10 for me. Oh wait, I reviewed Indiana Jones as well. Oh well, let's talk about it a little longer. I didn't really get to talk about this film much when it came to the midpoint video we put out back in July, but in truth, it's just because I didn't really know how to talk about it. I didn't want to get into a whole long rant about every little thing I didn't like about the movie, or every small thing that I did like about it, but now having seen most of it again, yeah, I'll talk about that later, I can talk a little more about the film. I think that James Mangold is an incredibly talented director. His filmography is filled with hitters. Logan, Ford v Ferrari, 310 to Yuma, Walk the Line. And of note, the writers of Ford v Ferrari wrote Dial of Destiny, but it just didn't come together. I don't really hate this film, I'm just more apathetic to it. It's not good at all in my opinion. The direction is well done, but the writing is crap. The acting is good, but the characters are weak. The score is great, but the action and adventure it accompanies are pretty middling. It's just a very nothing film. The adventure is occasionally clever, but it doesn't feel real. And those last 20 minutes of the film were just a giant slap in the face to what Indiana Jones is. Helena is an annoyance, and her accomplice, Teddy, is just as annoying, if not more annoying than she is. I don't hate either of them, but they sure were blemishes on the film. The film is also just overlong and has a surprisingly abrupt ending, even if it's nice to have. Can you tell I didn't enjoy the movie? I'm just rambling at this point. And yeah, when I saw it a second time, I had to back out in those last 20 minutes because I just couldn't take it anymore. This gets a 3.5 out of 10 for me. That is probably the final score I'm going to give on it too. Well, that's some of the movies and TV I guess I saw in July and August of 2023. If you liked this different video format, let us know. And thanks for watching.